Hey viewers and friends, Andrew back again and welcome to a double slasher review. Today I've finally checked out two movies that have been on my watch list for ages. Quite a few of you have been wanting to know my opinions on both films, so here we go. So we have Fade to Black and Nightmare, also known as Nightmare and Damaged Brain. Finally got around to checking these two out and wanted to review both of them. I'm probably going to do some reviews on and off over the month. I do plan to watch a few horror movies from my collection that I've never seen before. That is one of my aims for this month, and these are two that I've never seen before, so I'm doing well so far, and yeah, just wanted to review both films. Before I get into my review, I'm wanting to give a quick shout out to Jason Whitney. He's fairly new to YouTube in terms of videos and being involved with the community. We haven't known each other for too long, but in the short space of time we've been chatting, he's a fantastic guy and I already consider him a pretty good friend. We almost chat on a daily basis and he's just great to talk to, really knowledgeable on horror, so definitely check him out. He needs a lot more subscribers than he's got. He's already uploaded some pretty good videos, so check out Jason Whitney if you haven't already, and I'll be leaving his channel link in the description box. Alright, let's get on to the reviews. So first up, I'm going to be reviewing Fade to Black. This is a UK DVD copy of the film, and this got sent to me from N. So N, if you're watching this video, thanks a lot, and I'm sorry that it's taken me so long to get around to watching the film, but finally have, and definitely wanted to give my opinions on it. So Fade to Black is an interesting film, especially in terms of the theme. This one centers around a character called Eric, and he is obsessed with movies. Movies are pretty much his life. He gets picked on at work. He has a pretty shitty home life because his auntie thinks he spends way too much time with his movies and that they are a waste of time. So as the movie goes on, he gets more and more obsessed with film. He takes on different personas of some of his favourite characters from some of his favourite films, and he soon turns pretty nasty and sinister. So that's pretty much the main storyline. There's not really a lot happening other than that. In my opinion, this was a good movie. It was nothing amazing, but then it certainly wasn't bad. It was different to what I was expecting. It's interestingly paced. Now, there's a lot of slow moments throughout the movie, which there's some sort of action moments, and then it follows by some pretty slow-paced moments, and that is pretty much how the entire movie runs. In terms of the slasher elements, I was definitely expecting a lot more focus on that. To be honest, there's not a lot until the sort of third act to the end of the movie, and there were some interesting choices of the characters that he took personas of. To be honest, I was kind of expecting the characters to be a little bit more horror focused than they were, which was kind of disappointing. But in saying that, I did enjoy this movie. I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was anything amazing. And yeah, so that's really all I have to say about Fade to Black. I was expecting more from the movie, to be honest, but I still did enjoy it for what it was. So I'm going to give Fade to Black a 2.5 out of 5. If you're a slasher fan, or especially if you are obsessed with movies, well, that's a no-brainer because pretty much everyone in the movie community is. But if you think a movie centered around that sounds interesting to you, definitely check out Fade to Black. Alright, moving on to Nightmare, aka Nightmare and a Damaged Brain. This DVD here from Code Red is extremely hard to come by. I've heard that this is the most valuable horror DVD at the moment. Not too sure how accurate that is. Not that that is really of great importance to me, but anyway, I do know that this is out of print and it fetches quite a high price. Is it worth that price? I'm not sure. But anyway, so Nightmare centers around a mental patient called George Tatum, And just like the title says, Nightmare, it centres around nightmares that he has. So the movie starts out, he's in a mental institution or a mental hospital. He's getting studied by doctors, and you basically see his character through his nightmares. The character in this is kind of similar to Joe Spinell from Maniac, nowhere near as good though. In fact, this movie is basically a combination of Maniac with Halloween, but certainly nowhere near as good as those two movies, but certainly did have similarities to both films, which I'll get to later on in the review. So anyway, as I said, the movie starts out with George Tatum in the mental hospital. The doctors are studying him. The main doctor thinks that he has been cured. He's well enough to leave the hospital, which was very weird. Again, I'll get to that later on in the review. Anyway, he leaves the hospital, heads to Florida, where he stalks a family. So that is pretty much the storyline. Now, what did I think of the film? I thought it was a very good movie, but kind of flawed at the same time. So, as I said before, it was very similar to Maniac and Halloween. That sort of had a similar character, like George Tatum was a similar character to Joe Spinell from Maniac. And it definitely had that sort of sleazy atmosphere as well, especially at the start of the film. The third act, the final act of the movie, it turned into a movie very similar to Halloween. Just the way that he stalked the family and stuff like that was pretty reminiscent of Halloween and Michael Myers. Nowhere near as good though. Now, in terms of flaws, the biggest complaint I have about the movie, I mean, I know it's just a movie and everything, but certain things really irk me, and this definitely irked me with this film. So right from the beginning, it was clear to the audience that George Tatum was mentally ill, and that there was no way that he was ready to be released. However, the main doctor in charge of his case or whatever thought that he was getting a lot better, even though clearly he wasn't. So to me, that was a fairly big flaw in the film. The other thing that did sort of irk me a little bit was the different genres that were included in this movie. The pacing was interesting. It started off as a sleazy thriller, then the middle of the movie, or the majority of the film actually, that played out like a family drama, and then the third act, or sort of the last sort of half an hour to 20 minutes, I guess, it turned into your stalk and slash film. So kind of interesting. It did work to a degree, however I really wish that they'd just stuck to a straight out slasher movie. I definitely think it would have made for a much better film. In saying that though, I still enjoyed this one, and I still think it is a really good movie. I was also disappointed by the lack of violence in this movie. I'd heard previously going into this one that this was extremely violent and gory. Honestly, it's not. There's a little bit at the beginning, and then there's a little bit in the last sort of 20 to 15 minutes of the movie. Other than that, there's pretty much next to nothing. So that was rather disappointing as well. I will say though, the gore effects, especially at the end of the movie, were fantastic. So they definitely did a good job. And in all honesty, I think the last sort of 20 to 15 minutes of the movie makes this film worth the watch alone. That was fantastic when the slasher portions really kicked in. It had a pretty interesting twist at the end, which I did not see coming actually. That was kind of a surprise, but all in all, despite its flaws, I thought that this was an enjoyable watch, and I thought it was a really good film. So I'm going to give Nightmare, or Nightmare and Damaged Brain, a 3 out of 5. I definitely think it is worth checking out if you can actually track down a copy though. Honestly, I would not pay the high prices it goes for, but if you can find this for a pretty good price, definitely check it out. As I said, 3 out of 5, I did enjoy it, and I thought it was really good, despite the few sort of flaws and issues that I had with the film. Alright, so that has been my review of Fade to Black and Nightmare, or Nightmare and a Damaged Brain. If you've seen any of these movies, definitely let me know what you think of them in the comments section below. I hope you've enjoyed this review. Once again, guys, remember to head on over and subscribe to Jason Whitney, and thank you for watching.